My name is Bryant Fitts. I'm a lawyer located in Houston, Texas, and today we're here to talk about the timeline for a personal injury claim, or the timeline for which you should receive your personal injury settlement. So we're going to start at the beginning. If you're watching this, you've clearly been involved in some sort of an accident. So what happens? You're involved in the accident, and what needs to be done immediately is you've got to figure out who all was responsible for the accident. And we're going to use a car accident today to kind of run you through this timeline, but any personal injury matter applies to this general timeline. There's some differences, but in a car accident, you're going to want to document who was driving both vehicles and who were in the vehicles, and quite frankly, who's responsible. You've got to make sure a police shows up to the accident scene, and you've got to make sure a police report's issued. You need the police report so you can ultimately try to preserve the factual basis of what happened and try to determine who's responsible down the road. So after the accident's occurred, you've either been whisked off to the hospital in an ambulance of some sort, or you're going to go to the doctor on your own. If you don't go to the hospital the day of the accident, you need to report your injuries to a doctor immediately. So during the first week after your accident, you've got to report your injuries to a doctor. The sooner the better, because the longer you wait, the insurance companies or the person on the other side will allege that you weren't hurt that bad because you waited 3-4 weeks to go to the doctor. Even if you have a valid excuse, they're always going to say something like that. So immediately treat and immediately report all of your injuries during the first week after your accident. Now, during this time, if you had a car that was involved in the accident, you've got to deal with your property damage. So during the first week, you're going to be working on getting a rental car for yourself and trying to get an estimate to get your car fixed so you can keep driving your car and move on with your life. Now, if you're going to consult with a lawyer, my recommendation would be to consult with a lawyer during that first week after the accident. The longer you wait, the less they can do to help you with your claim. A lawyer is going to help you make sure you have all the witnesses identified. They're going to make sure you have the accident report. They're going to make sure you're getting treated for your medical injuries. They're going to help you. And if you hire a lawyer, you can focus on your life and you can focus on your medical treatment, where the lawyer focuses on the claim. Because if you don't hire a lawyer, this auto accident or this injury is going to consume your life. I can promise you, I've seen it a million times with people who have waited and waited and waited to hire a lawyer, and they finally hire a lawyer when they're up to their ears in it and they can't focus on their day-to-day lives because they're too busy fighting with the insurance company, going to doctor visits, and it's too hard to do all that and maintain their job and take care of their family. So the sooner you hire a lawyer, the better off you are. Some people think that, hey, I can handle this on my own and I can get more money. I would generally tell you that's not true. If you have very minor injuries, that could be the case. But if you have any sort of severe injury, you're far better off hiring a lawyer quickly, because the insurance company or the other side is going to take you far more seriously if you actually have a lawyer. And the reason why they're going to do that is because they know that if they don't resolve your claim, that your lawyer is going to file a lawsuit. It's very hard for individuals to go file a lawsuit on their own behalf. They can, it's just hard to do. Now, during that first week or two, the insurance company is going to reach out to you, and they're going to ask you for a statement as to your version of the facts. I would typically recommend not giving them a statement. They're going to use the statement against you. They're not really trying to figure out what happened. They're trying to figure out a way to minimize the amount of responsibility that their insured or whoever they're representing has. That's just a fact. That's just the way it works. So I would highly recommend not giving a statement. If you have a lawyer, your lawyer is most likely going to advise you not to give a statement. Within about the first week or two after your accident, your lawyer or you are going to gather the accident report. This is the report that the police officer who attended the accident is going to generate. And it's going to talk about where the vehicles are located, how fast they were going, and who was probably at fault. That will help your case, and it'll help create a roadmap for your lawyer or for you to decide who's responsible. After about, I'd say 1 to 2 weeks after the accident, you should have your property damage claim moving. You should be getting that taken care of, and then you should be treating for your injuries. Now, treatment for your injuries could take 3 weeks, could take 3 months, could take 18 months. It all depends. But the treatment phase is typically the longest phase of the personal injury settlement timeline, and it's also the most important. You've got to make sure you get the best medical care you can, and you put your body back into the best shape you can put it in before you had the accident. Because at the end of the day, all you have is your health. Now, if you've contacted a lawyer, hopefully your lawyer understands that their job is to help you get the best medical care you possibly can. That's what we try to do in our office. So you need to really focus on treating your injuries, making your appointments, and trying not to miss your appointments. It's very important to go to your appointments and to make sure you get your body back in the same shape it was before the accident. And if you can't do that, get it as close as possible. Once you've completed the treatment phase, it's going to be time to order your medical records. And either your lawyer will do this for you. If you're handling it on your own, you'll do it yourself. But you have to order a complete set of your medical and your billing records from all the treatment that occurred because of your accident. You need these records because you have to present them to the other side for your compensation. Typically, it takes between, I'd say, 3 days to 3 weeks to receive the medical records. And once you get those records, you can either begin to draft your demand letter or your lawyer will. And if your lawyer drafts your demand letter, it'll take them about a week. They're going to take their medical records, and they're going to take everything you've told them about the accident, about your pain and suffering, about your lost wages, and they're going to incorporate it all into one document. And they're going to attach your medical records and any other proof they think that helps the value of your claim. And then they're going to put a dollar figure on your case. Most likely they're going to talk to you before they do it. And this dollar figure is going to be a number that's higher than they anticipate the other side paying, but still a reasonable number in an effort to try to encourage the other side to put their best foot forward and offer as much money as possible to resolve your claim. Typically, these demand letters, it takes about a week to draft, like I said, and then once you send them out, you give them about 3 weeks to respond. And within that 3 weeks, you're going to get a response. And that response is something that either you or your lawyer is going to look at and they're going to consider. And then they'll probably spend another couple weeks going back to the insurance carrier, negotiating back and forth, trying to get you as much money as they possibly can for your injuries. And at some point, your lawyer is going to tell you, hey, look, based on your injuries, I think this is a fair offer and you should accept it. Or they're going to tell you, this insurance company doesn't see the light, we need to go ahead and file a lawsuit. So after your demand is sent and after they've made an offer and after there's been a negotiation period, you're going to get to a point to whether you can resolve your claim then or you can file a lawsuit. So this whole process could have taken as short as 3 months and as long as, I would say, 18 months or 24 months. One thing you have to consider during this process, and your lawyer will certainly consider, is the statute of limitations. Every state has different statute of limitations, but there's a time with which you must file your claim after your injury, or you will be barred from making the claim. So if you have a lawyer involved, in Texas, it's 2 years from your date of your accident. So you got to be mindful of that. Now, let's just assume, for the purpose of our timeline here, you were able to reach a settlement. So the demand letter was sent, negotiations ensued, and you reached a settlement. At that point, the insurance company will send the money to your lawyer, or they'll send it directly to you, and they'll send a release. And the release is an agreement that you sign. It's a contract saying, in exchange for X amount of money, I agree to never sue your insured again for these damages. And it's their certainty that you'll never come back and ask for more money. So essentially, they pay you money for finality and knowing that you're never going to come back and make a claim. So once the release is sent to your lawyer's office, your lawyer's office will call you. They will send it to you to sign, and you will come in and sign. And then ultimately, at that point, they will disperse the settlement funds to you, and your claim will be resolved. Now, during the disbursement of your settlement funds, you also have medical liens you have to watch out for. Your lawyers will know what to do, but if you had medical treatment related to your injuries, which most likely you did if you received a settlement, sometimes there are liens that you have to satisfy, and your lawyers will make sure you satisfy those liens. If you handle this on your own, you've got to make sure you satisfy those liens, because if you don't, they could come back to bite you in the future, and then all of a sudden you think you're receiving X dollars in a settlement, but you're actually not, because you have a legal obligation to pay it to some medical provider who provided you medical treatment. Now, if for some reason you're unable to reach a settlement and your lawyer says, hey, I think we should file a lawsuit, you're going to look at another 12 months to 18 months for the litigation process to ensue. But what we've just talked about is the general timeline of when you will receive your personal injury settlement from the date of injury to the actual settlement. If you have any specific questions, please post them below in the comments or call us at 1-800-99-FITS or contact us via our website. Thank you.